States has no jurisdiction over the Palestinian Authority. And third, what the Hamas gang did to this young couple considered to be a legitimate act of war, and therefore no court can deal with this case. We argued back, and the court threw out their motion to dismiss. At this point, they came to court, Ramsey Kraft came to court and said that he was instructed by Yasser Arafat not to continue and participate in the case because, with all due respect to the court, they are a state, they do have sovereign immunity, and they are not going to accept a court jurisdiction. Obviously, what's happened in such a situation is that the case continues, and we indeed are able to prove our case in court and got a judgment against the Palestinian Authority for more than $100 million. They took this judgment, they appealed it to the Courts of Appeal. Courts of Appeal rejected their appeal, and they filed a writ, the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court rejected the writ. We have a final judgment against the Palestinian Authority for more than $100 million. In the meantime, we got another judgment against them for almost $200 million. And we took this judgment, we sent it to all the banks in the United States, saying that if you have money that belongs to the Palestinian Authority, turn it over to us. Most of them say that they don't have money that belongs to the Palestinian Authority. The few who did say that the money that they are holding not necessarily belongs to the Palestinian Authority. Why? Because it's kept under different names. Palestine Monetary Authority, Palestine Pension Fund, Palestine Investment Fund. We know that the Palestinian Authority will never pay pension to their employees. We know that the Monetary Authority is not an independent body than the PA. So we are in litigation against these banks in the courts of the United States, but in the meantime, all the money is frozen. And we are talking about $200 million that nobody can touch, including the Palestinian Authority. And that caused a great damage to the Palestinian Authority. We know that because they approached the State Department and they urged them to get involved with the cases. They wrote personal letters to Condoleezza Rice back then, asking her to do anything she can, in their own words, anything the American Constitution can, anything the American law can, in order to stop these cases. They told her that the result of these cases, they cannot wire money around, they cannot open bank accounts, they cannot pay salaries, they cannot pay rent, they cannot function in the United States. They told her that if this case will continue, they won't have a choice but to close their office in Washington. The State Department got scared and for a while considered to get involved with the cases. As soon as we heard that, we launched a campaign against the State Department. We got 10 senators and 10 congressmen writing letters to the State Department to stay away from the cases. We brought 25 terror victims from Israel and the United States to personal meetings with the State Department representatives telling them not to get involved with the cases. We told them these are private cases. They should not get involved. And if they do want to get involved, then you should stand to the sides of the American citizens, of the terror victims, and not to the sides of the terror organizations. We told them that if you don't have guts to fight the terror organizations, don't stop us from doing it. State Department came to court, filed a notice of interest, a statement of interest, and say that for now, they're not going to get involved with the cases, and urge the parties to settle these cases out of court. For the first time, the attorneys for the Palestinian Authority approached us to settle these cases out of court. We are winning the cases. We got until now more than $1 billion in judgment. We put a lien on $600 million in terror assets, and we actually collected, we got into our hands, over $120 million that went to the terror victims. We're doing it because it's a fight. It's a fight of private people. It's a fight of the private sector, because we can take a role in the fight against terrorism. Governments cannot do what we do. Governments cannot file lawsuits against other governments, against terror organizations. Governments have political constraints. They have international treaties they are signed on. They have foreign relationships they have to take into consideration. We don't. We are private people who represent private terror victims, which have only one goal: to bankrupt terrorism, one lawsuit at a time. We're doing it because we don't have any other choice. We live in Israel, and we want to continue living in this country. We want to send our kids to school and to make sure that they are coming back home safely. We want to sit in our cafes. We want to shop in our malls. We want to use our buses. The Torah taught us, "Lo ta'amod al dam re'echa." Don't stand idly by our brother's blood. We are sick and tired going to the Abu Kabir Forensic Center and helping parents identifying their children's bodies with dental records. We're sick and tired going to funerals and watching little children saying Kaddish on their parents. But even worse, watching parents saying Kaddish on their children. But mostly we're sick and tired sitting in the military courts, watching the defendants of the Hamas who are looking at the judge's eyes, smiling at him and promising him that they will win. They will not win. We will win. Because we are fighting for our national survival. We will not stand idly by our brother's blood. We cannot afford it. The state of Israel cannot afford it. The Western world cannot afford it. You cannot afford it. Thank you very much.